All right, welcome in everybody. Week 2. This is May 1st, actually. So May 1st, 2025, week 2 of the return of Texas Sports Review. See? Texas Sports Review. Merchandise coming soon. No, I don't know. It just depends on how it grows and what the call for any of this stuff is. Would love to have some sponsors if it does grow. Until then, everything's in a holding pattern. Anyways, last week we did the Texans draft prediction. This week we're going to do a little bit of a recap. I'm not going to go too in-depth because you've probably already seen about 30 billion different draft recaps for the Texans, what everybody's opinion and stuff like that is. I'll give a little bit of opinions and stuff, but like I said, I'm not going to go too deep. Talk about some other things in sports here and locally for Houston. Then, as I promised before, going to go into some other stuff with men's lives. Talk about my own son and what's going on with him, what we experienced this past weekend. Maybe go into a little bit of politics, talk about maybe Trump a little bit, maybe something that actually kind of funny that happened to me tonight, and then some stuff that should be coming up pretty quick this weekend. So let's jump into it. First things first, draft. I don't know who of you actually watched last week. You can go back, watch the videos. I predicted the Texans would trade back. I called it for some team that was probably going to be quarterback hungry. That said, I did say that it was probably going to be, the prediction that I made was with the Patriots, trading back from number 25 to number 38. And then I had them trading back up in the second round to number 44. Well, I was way off. They didn't trade back to 38. They traded back to 34. I was off by 4 picks. Then they didn't trade up to 44. They traded up to 48. So basically, I just got the last 2 numbers reversed. Not too bad. I predicted that they were going to trade back and select Donovan Jackson, the offensive guard out of Ohio State. As it turns out, he was taken number 24 by the Minnesota Vikings. From a lot of the accounts that I'm reading, basically that's the guy they wanted before they decided to trade back. So maybe not. We don't know that for sure. There's some people out there that know that for sure one way or the other. I doubt they're going to go, hey, the fat guy from Texas Sports Review called it right. But it could happen. I did talk about some of the other things that I felt that they were going to do. I said that they would probably trade multiple times, 6 trades. We're not going to break all of them down because that's way too much time spent breaking down trades. I said there was a chance that they'd get a quarterback to groom for the future because Davis Mills is a good trade piece. Excuse me. Sorry, didn't mean to have the hands in the video. Still training myself on the video, so if it's not perfect, that's why. Talked about some of the other pieces. Said they were going to take multiple wide receivers. Guess what? They took multiple wide receivers. Shocking. Said they'd get a running back. They didn't get the running back I thought. We'll talk about that a little bit. So let's jump into it. Number 34, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver out of Iowa State. Big guy. Everything that I see on him, everything that I've watched on him, everything, basically. Oh, it's a Nico Collins clone. I'll be the first to admit, Nico Collins, when he was drafted, I was so on. I wasn't sure what to think. I didn't write him off right away. I didn't say he was going to be great. I didn't say he was going to be a bust. I said I didn't know enough about him. After a year or two and plagued by injuries, I started to have my serious doubts. I started to believe he was a bust, and clearly I was wrong. Fully admit it. So, if Jaden Higgins, they picked a lot of Jalen's in this. If Jaden Higgins turns out to be 60% of what Nico Collins is, they got a good pick. Plain and simple. Big guy. Should be a great target in the red zone. Should be something that really helps him quite a bit. And honestly, depending on how he does, I could see it to where they really are using him and Nico Collins interchangeable. But both of them have a rest from, let one of them have a rest, the other one goes in. Then they turned around at that pick number 48. I don't really know how to pronounce this guy's name properly yet. I apologize. I'm a Texas redneck. Suck with some pronunciation. It happens. Ariante Irsay, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota. Maybe I got it right. Maybe I botched it completely. Don't know. Don't really care. I doubt he's going to watch this video and have hurt feelings over it. Worst things have happened. From everything I've read up on, seen on him, I know he was one guy that had been mentioned, possibly going in the first round. Seems like he needs a little more development. Probably going to be a right tackle kind of guy, but you never know. Tackles sometimes slide back and forth pretty easily. I think my personal take is they're going to use him kind of as a swing tackle to start off with and see how he does. You have a couple of guys that are paid pretty handsomely this year with Cam Robinson coming in also. Third round, Jolin Noel, wide receiver, Iowa State. He was partnered up with Jaden Higgins. Smith is the more of the slot receiver, which is kind of exactly what I said they were going to do. I said I thought they were going to go after what was his name from TCU, Savion Williams, who's 6'5". That's right there with Jaden Higgins. So I saw kind of a rangy guy, and they needed another slot guy. We don't know if Christian Kirk is going to stay healthy. We don't know if he's going to get hurt again. We don't know if he's going to pan out here. You just don't know. But if he does pan out, or, well, that matter if he doesn't, they have a chance to move him for some salary cap space, whether it be via trade, via releasing him, whatever, for the 26 season. I don't think anything's going to happen before then. That said, you never know. If the Pittsburgh Steelers end up moving George Pickens, they might be in the market for another wide receiver, and he could be a logical good fit there. So we'll see what happens with that. Then, after that, they turned around and they went Jalen Smith. Another Jalen. Defensive back from USC. Some people are saying he's going to be a cornerback. That's what he's going to stick with. Others, and I tend to agree, are listing him more as a defensive back because you don't know if he's going to have a transition to safety. You don't know if he's going to stay right there. I think there's a better chance of him transitioning to safety with some of the spots that's probably going to come open. Jimmy Ward, this is probably his last year here in Houston. I believe he's one of the safeties back there. Came over from San Francisco. 116. Woody Marks, running back. Jalen Smith was a defensive back from USC. Woody Marks, running back from USC. Solid guy. I don't think he's going to be a 3-down back, but I don't think that's what they were going for with this pick. I think they were going for that change of pace back, somebody that can really step in and just help out. I think that's what they got. That's what they wanted. 187, Jalen Reed, safety from Penn State. Again, I think this is going to be yet another guy that is more of a defensive back. I don't think he's going to be strictly listed to that same safety position. I think they're going to be expected to play multiple roles. Maybe some nickels, something like that. 197. We got a quarterback, Graham Mertz, quarterback from Florida. From what I've read on him, I don't think he's ever going to be a spectacular quarterback as far as top 10 type of quarterback. I don't think that's his ceiling. But I do think he could develop into that mid-tier of quarterback from what I've read on him. Will he have the chance here? I don't know. That's interesting. But I do think he will be at least good enough to potentially replace Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills needs to be given an opportunity to move on to another team. Maybe a change of scenery does him some real good. You've seen tons of quarterbacks through the years that move on to another system and actually flourish somewhere else. And that could very well happen with Davis Mills. I think you owe it to him to give him another opportunity. Number 224, Keontae Hamilton, defensive tackle, Rutgers. I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about this guy. At pick 224, sorry, I just don't. Pick 225, Luke Lachey, tight end out of Iowa. He's big. That's pretty much what I've gotten out of him. He's just a big dude. Be a big target. I know they signed a lot of other guys. I had talked on my last video that I thought Isaiah Bond would be a target. And honestly, I thought he was my number one wide receiver choice for the Texans before all the stuff started going down with him. Clearly, there's more to that story than what the public knows at this point. I know Isaiah Bond was not drafted, and as of yet, I don't think any team has signed him. So that tells me there's a lot more going on there than what actually meets the eye. Speaking of the draft, something that I noticed, I'm a big Longhorns fan, just completely open, honest. I am a big Longhorns fan. Quinn Ewers, quarterback. He didn't get picked up till was it 7th round by the Dolphins? It was very late in the draft. I don't remember exactly, but I was very surprised it took him that long. I don't think it's as much of a knock on Quinn Ewers is actually and honestly as it is on Steve Sarkisian. And I say this because as a Longhorn fan, what was the last quarterback that really blew up in the NFL that Coach Stark groomed? You know, he's got a lot of quarterbacks to the NFL, but how many of them are actually, you know, like, oh man, oh, remember him, he was fantastic, or look at this guy, he's still playing in the NFL and he's doing so much. None of those guys really stick out in my mind as being really all that great in the NFL. So I'm wondering if there's not a little bias against quarterbacks coming from the Texas Longhorns, which becomes a very interesting question because there's a young quarterback there by a certain NFL quarterback royalty last name of Manning, Mr. Arch Manning. He's got a couple of uncles that y'all may have heard of, Peyton and Eli. You may have heard of them. But no, it's interesting to see if there really is some bias against Coach Stark. Is that going to fade over to what's going on with Arch? Because if it does, and honestly, I don't think it does, and I think the Manning name either way will trump over everything anyway. But if it did, that would be a real big reason for him to consider transferring out of the University of Texas. So to me, that is a storyline to watch. I don't think there's anything to it right now, but it could definitely develop into something more. So that's interesting to me. It's something I brought up. I actually asked a former Longhorn quarterback his take, and I don't think he said anything about it yet. I'll have to double check and see if he responded to me. Maybe I can update you on my next week's post. But yeah, I actually reached out and talked to Chance Mock about that. I hadn't heard back, Chance. What the heck, man? Anyway, Rockets and the playoffs, not doing bad. They actually blew out the Warriors. I think it was last night. I'm not a basketball fan. I apologize. I'm trying to keep up with them just so I can honestly say something about them. I don't never been a huge basketball guy. I like basketball much better in the late 90s. You know, the mid to late 90s. I think they were much better then. Yes, I'm old school. I'm almost 50 now, so yeah, I'm an old guy. But honestly, I think the game was more pure then. That said, the playoffs have been more of that 90s style basketball to where, yeah, people get hit and it's a little rough of a game, a little more rough of a game, I should say. But the Rockets are down right now. They're facing Game 6 coming up this Sunday. Game's at 7:30. They're down 3 games to 2. But I think they're still right there in the series. I mean, yeah, I know it's a game 6 and they're only down 1 game. I get it. But for what a lot of people were expecting, I think they're doing better than what some people really thought they would. I mean, here in Houston, it's hard to say because everybody's going to be biased towards them by and large. But I think nationwide, a lot of people were expecting them to be more of a developmental type of phase right now. They're still a young team. They don't have that playoff experience, which a lot of people really feel they need. But, you know, they have different leaders that are stepping up at different times, and that's really what makes a championship team. This NBA mode of you got to have 2 or 3 superstars to win a championship. I agree. That helps. No two ways about it. But, you know, look at the Warriors. The second Jimmy Butler went down, everybody went, ha, series over. So, to me, I would rather have the really good, really deep team across the board, you know, including your bench guys, rather than having 2 or 3 superstars that you have to depend everything on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Game Sunday night again, 7:30. It's Game 6 versus Golden State. The Astros, another team here in Houston. They're 16-14 right now as we speak. They're sitting at 533, so above 500. They're only 2 games back in the Mariners right now, which I'm still a little surprised the Mariners are doing that well. I didn't really foresee that. Maybe as I do some more of these videos, maybe I can bring a former Texas Sports Review guy back on to talk Astros. We'll see how that goes. He probably has some better equipment than just an iPhone, Which, hey, anybody that wants to sponsor me as I get going, help me get some equipment and stuff again, help me get some things rolling, I wouldn't argue. You're welcome to give me money at any time. I like the type that folds. I like the type that jingles. I like the digital type. I'm not picky. I appreciate it. With the Astros, Lance McCullers Jr. It's been like, what, 37 years since we've seen him pitch or something like that. He's set to pitch on Sunday. Going to be a really interesting story to follow. What's he going to be? Is he going to be a starter? I think he's supposed to pitch as a starter, but how in the hell is he going to have that much stamina after 3 years of not really pitching because of injuries? I just can't see him being a quality starter this year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's been keeping in perfect physical shape. Maybe he'll be a great number 5 pitcher. I say number 5. Look, if he comes out and he's a starter, he's your number 5 guy, he bumps somebody off the rotation and improves the rotation by 1 spot for the rest of the season, and you can move that one starter into the bullpen and help the bullpen, that's fantastic. That's a huge win. I'm sorry, but that's a huge win for the Astros if that happens. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Okay, that's a little bit of a quick wrap on sports. I will say with the Texans, I did hear Nick Cassary, yes. For some reason, I always want to call Nick. See, I'm screwing myself up again. I don't have his name written down. Nick Caserio, the general manager of the Texans. I always want to call him Casserole. I don't know why. It's one of those idiotic things up there that I can't get rid of. It is what it is. If he sees this, which honestly, there's a 50-50 chance from my understanding, he could. Nick Caserio, I actually like him a lot as a GM. I don't mean to call you Casserole, but it's just stuck in my head. But from some of the stuff I saw him interviewed with, he was saying there was still a really good chance the Texans are not done making moves. It could happen at any given time. I think Gene Autry is the name to watch, the defensive end. He could move quite a bit of salary, so that's an interesting one. I'd watch the wide receivers as things go along. If you get a couple of these younger guys that really look like they're taking off and forming a bond with CJ, it might be a good time to move Kirk, even though you just got him. You didn't pay anything for him. But hey, if you can trade the bag of donuts for, a Rolls Royce, you're going to trade the bag of donuts for a Rolls Royce every time. If y'all have any questions and stuff on sports, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm trying to get into videos. This is my second one ever. I'm trying to keep them kind of shorter for now because doing them solo is a little tough, and I haven't done run sheets in, 5-6 years at least, probably longer than that. So my run sheets are kind of short. They're not the week-long preparation that I used to put into them, and we'll get back to that. It's just a matter of time. But over this past weekend, this is where the whole thing takes a turn from sports to going into more of stuff in men's lives and stuff in general. And this one's more personal with me, and I do get emotional sometimes. There's a very good chance I will get emotional talking about this. It is my child. For any of you that do know, for any of you that don't know, I have a son. He is 8 years old. His name is Gunnar. He was diagnosed about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, with Friedreich's ataxia, which apparently is a German deal because a German discovered it. It's a genetic disorder that affects the cerebellum, which basically affects all of your motor function skills. Every question that you have, the answer is, I don't know. There is no answer, no matter what you want to know. Don't know how bad it's going to get. Don't know when it'll get bad. Don't know. No, there is no medication to cure it. Right now, for his age, there's not even a medication to slow it down. The only medication that's out right now is currently, it only has been out since right before he got diagnosed, and it's only available for 16 and up, and it slows down the progression. It does not stop it. It does not cure it. It slows it down. We have seen progression of the disease in my son since he was diagnosed. We've been taking him to Texas Children's and working with him there, some of the doctors and so forth. I'm not French. We. No, I was listening to one of the local stations here in Houston, one of the FM stations, and they had a St. Jude's radiothon going on. And God talked to me. God said, for whatever reason, don't change the station. Listen to everything going on with this. And I did. I listened to it, and at some point I said, I was wondering the whole time, should I donate to St. Jude's? Why am I getting a calling to listen to this? I don't understand. Why am I being told to listen to this whole thing? And at some point it went from why am I being told to do this to I wonder if St. Jude's is offering anything for Friedreich's ataxia. So I went to their website, I Googled it, and lo and behold, they were holding a clinical research program about it. And I gave all the information to my wife. My wife called, and the very next day they called back. And they said they were interested in Gunner, but the clinical research had not begun at that time. They would let us know, they'd stay in touch with us, and kind of keep us posted on things. Well, sure enough, he was selected. We had the opportunity to go to Memphis this past weekend, to go to St. Jude's. St. Jude's is the most incredible, beyond belief, wonderful place I could ever tell you about. There is nothing better for kids that are sick and need help. That said, for any of my friends, for any of my family, for any of my enemies, I hope and I pray you never need to go there. It's a fantastic place. It really and truly is, but it is for very sick children. My son was supposed to be looked at for about 3 hours. From my understanding, it was 2 to 3 doctors that were supposed to be looking at him for the 3 hours. Their original plan was to look at him from 8 to about 11 and get us out. We were supposed to have a few hours to look around Memphis. Well, 11 o'clock came around, and we had actually seen 4 doctors, and they asked if we could come back after lunch. And so we did. We didn't end up being done with all the doctors and all the tests and everything until about 2 o'clock. By no means am I complaining. Excuse me, sorry about that. By no means am I complaining. I'm glad. To me, some of the things that we were told, how can I put this appropriately for y'all? It's very, very difficult to endure the unknown, the constant unknown. When you're turning to people that are doctors, that are supposed to be professionals and supposed to know what to do and tell you and how to fix it. And this is a kid. Why don't you know what to do for him? And when those people constantly look at you and tell you, okay, we'll see you in a year. Everything's okay. Well, no, dude, it's not. It's not okay. I don't want to just wait a year so you can just watch the decline of my son. And it's not a knock on anybody. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not. It's very difficult to accept that. And going to St. Jude's, it felt like they really wanted to be aggressive in some sort of a treatment plan. And that is not what we met them for. That was not the intention of this. It was just supposed to be getting some baseline information on some of his symptoms and how he's actually dealing with stuff. And it put the wind back in my sails is the only way I really know to describe it. It really reinvigorated me, my wife as well, with a lot of things going on with him. It made us really understand that there are people out there that the world is a very blessed and special place. Let me put it that way. Then we also had something extremely special happen to us. We went to the Peabody, which if you've never heard of the Peabody in Memphis, Tennessee, I highly recommend you look it up. I do not recommend Memphis, Tennessee as a place to go and visit and tourism for your family because, no, it's not a safe town. I'm sorry, it's not. It sucks as a town from what I saw. That's not a knock on the town. It's what I saw. It was very trashy. It was very ghetto. It was very unsafe. Uh, the people that we dealt with were fantastic. That's not a knock on them. But the people, the perfect example. My wife walked outside. She smokes, which I hate, but don't tell her I said so. But she walked outside the Peabody. Hey, sorry, unexpected guest. Uh, she walked outside the Peabody to have a smoke break, and had I not gone out there with her, she probably would have been mugged. Literally, no joke. Uh, you be good. Sorry, you didn't need to see all that behind the scenes stuff. No, I didn't beat my dog. I popped him on the butt to make him hush. Same I would my own kid. Um, that's why he's down here getting loved on now. Spoiled dog. But no, she would if she wouldn't have had me outside at the Peabody with her. There was a white guy that walked by that I guarantee you he would have mugged her. Uh, just not a safe town. Very sad because it has so much potential as a town. It has so much rich history. Peabody, we went up on the roof and we looked over, and the Mississippi River is right there. It's such a gorgeous sight to see. Mississippi is very impressive to me. I don't know if it's just because I'm American and the Mississippi has so much to do with American history and everything or what, but I love the Mississippi River. Um, the Peabody is famous for a duck march, which if you've never seen it, if you've never heard about it, you're one of the few. No, I'm joking. There's plenty of people that haven't heard about it. But there's plenty of videos out there, YouTube and everything else. Every sitting president, they said, has been there since pretty much like the 1900s, early 1900s, and probably before then because their original hotel opened in 1863, and then the second reiteration of it opened in 1903. I want to say somewhere in there. The Duck March, been going on since 1933. I was trying to pay attention when they said all this stuff. I was trying. Anyways, we got a little private tour around the hotel. Just somebody come up to us and was overly nice with me and my son, and my family was there. It was me, my son, my wife, and my mother-in-law. We got a little private tour that was amazing. Didn't expect anything else of it. She insisted that we sat at a certain spot in the line because it was the best place to get the perfect view. We did. We were actually an hour early, so we went and did a few other things. For any of you out there who've ever heard of Elvis Presley, it's where he used to get clothing at. Kevin Hart still buys clothing there, from my understanding. So does Bruno Mars. Elvis Presley signed his first major record contract with RCA in the lobby of the hotel. So there's been a few famous people in and out of this hotel pretty much always. For you women out there, Oprah's been there, and so has Taylor Swift. So has Tom Cruise and Patrick Swayze. So, that's for you lady folks. Sorry. The point that I'm getting to, though, is the duck master that actually marches the ducks. They do it twice a day. They bring them downstairs from upstairs at 11 in the morning, and they take them upstairs from downstairs at 5 p.m. The duck master selected Gunner just randomly without any notification, anything else, to help him out. Gunner got to walk the ducks onto the elevator, take them upstairs, and walk them up to their penthouse. And he said some very emotionally powerful words that touched our hearts very deeply. Keenan Walker, if you see this, you're a phenomenal person. And I absolutely agree that God put you in our life for a reason that day, and you truly, truly moved us and blessed us with those words. They will never be forgotten. Thank you. It was a very special, as you can see, I'm not tearing up now, but I've teared up numerous times over it. It was a very truly special occasion. Something that we'll never forget. Gunner got he got a Duckmaster duck signed by Keenan. He had some very powerful messages for my son, and it was very impressive. Forever thankful for that. Really and honestly was. All right, before I go too deep down in that rabbit hole, because I will get sentimental, I will get emotional. I'm not going to take too much longer on this video. We're almost at 30 minutes already. Future, do y'all want me to go into politics also? I think it'd be fun to talk politics. Some of the stuff going on with Trump, some of the potential wars out there, the tariffs that, oh my God, there's tariffs. Oh, how many of y'all actually understand what tariffs are? Which, in fairness, I'm sure there's some of you that are economists and stuff like that, that when you hear my explanation of what they are, that you'd be like, you're a moron. That's fair enough. I am a moron. I'm not an economist, but I do understand some basic things. So I think it'd be fun to talk about them. And just so you know, I'm not hardcore Trump. I'm not hardcore Republican Party. Traditionally, I'm not hardcore against the Democrats in any way. But I don't think there's a Democratic Party like that I grew up with. I think that party's dead and gone. I think it's ultra liberals now. And I am pretty much dead against most of the beliefs that they've shown that they're for, like being anti-American. Sorry, but I'm pro-America. I am pro-American. I am American citizens first. I'm not against people from anywhere else in the world, but I think you should wait in line until the people of America get what they deserve first. I do. Completely agree with that. I was actually in a shout out to Fat Andy's tonight. Sandwich shop in Santa Fe just recently opened up. Great sandwich shop. If you're in the area, go give them a try. Great sandwich shop. I was in there tonight, and the owner, actually, for whatever reason, we started joking about a couple of different things. And he said, yep, that's it. I'm going to nominate you to be the next mayor of the town. And I know he was just joking, but I was there with my wife, and she was like, oh, hey, whoa, hold up. Did you get my permission before you even went into this? You know, kind of joking around. I have joked in the past that I would like to get into politics at some point. I don't know that I want to run and jump into being a mayor of some town. I would like a little more knowledge and background history of it. I might be a councilman at some point. That might interest me. If it takes off from there, so be it. But as for right now, I want to be a dad. I want to be a husband. I want to be a fat guy talking about sports on a video. So I'm doing all right on those aspects. Actually, and honestly, I'm trying to lose weight. I find it more often than I lose it, but I'm trying. Couple other things going on that's coming up soon. Also, if there's other topics that y'all want me to talk about, bring it up. I will mention real quick, what the hell was the problem with Trump in a blue suit at the Pope's funeral? Why? Where is there a rule that says you have to wear black? There's not. And actually, and honestly, he wasn't the only one in blue. And from my understanding, he wore blue trying to show peace, not only for the passing of the Pope, but because of all the wars that we're potentially on the brink of. So it was a sign of peace. If that's really what it was about, that's perfectly fine for me. Matter of fact, wear blue in that situation. I support that wholeheartedly. I'd rather have peace instead of war. I don't want war, not with anybody. I understand war is sometimes a necessary evil, but that doesn't mean I like it. This weekend, two big things this weekend. We've got May the 4th be with you, which has become a very popular day. Popular enough to where I actually pay attention to it. Yes, I'm a Star Wars and Star Trek geek. I don't discriminate. I like both. My preference would be Star Wars, but I do like both quite a bit. I grew up watching Star Trek with my dad, Star Wars with my brother and my cousin Ryan. The other day, Monday, Cinco de Mayo, or as I call it, Cinco De Mayo Day. You can do what you want with how I pronounce it. Yes, there's a little bit of a perversion there. That's perfectly fine. I am a guy. There will be perversion from time to time. Deal with it. Yeah, but I mean, it's a big weekend all in all. You've got the Rockets, you've got the Astros, Cinco de Mayo, May the 4th be with you. We've got, heck, NFL's going to be back before you know it. We've got the XFL that's going on. I think the Roughnecks are in town this weekend. I have not been to a game for them yet. I think that might be something fun. First weekend, and let's see, I don't remember where it is. I say first weekend, but I don't remember. I don't want to start leading you astray. Sometime coming up soon, I am going to be on hiatus. I'll have to have 1 week off. But I'll let you know whenever that happens. That'll be coming up in about a month or so. So we got time. We got a few more videos before then. But everybody, if you want me to break down more stuff about football, whether it be the Texans, I can talk Cowboys also. When we had my 3 stations before, we had quite a few former Dallas Cowboys on there. Even though Tashard Choice wants to act like he doesn't know who the hell I am anymore, that's okay. TC, you were on the station for a while. Still love you. Doing great things, man. Proud of you. Was glad you were at the 40. Proud of you for moving on to the next great thing, man. Hope you continue to do really well. Anybody out there, seriously, I'm big on all things Texas sports. Hey, question for y'all. For anybody that knew me from before, from Texas Sports Review, from anybody that interviewed with me about potentially joining, from anybody that just talks sports with me, here's a question for you. What is the most competitive sport in the state of Texas? If you walk up to somebody, any other guy, I say guy because guys are more into sports than women. What is the most competitive sport in the state of Texas? Nope, wrong. It's not. I don't care what your answer just was. You're wrong. The most competitive sport is barbecue. Plain and simple. You don't believe me? I can make it really obvious to you. When was the last time you had somebody else's barbecue, specifically brisket, and thought, man, I couldn't do any better myself? That's right, you didn't. Not if you're a real Texan. Because every one of us that are Texans, I don't care if it's the grand prize barbecue of all time that won 50 years in a row of every contest that it ever entered, we tasted and go, too much pepper, not enough garlic. Whatever it is to your seasoning and to your like, we would find some way to knock it. That's who we are as Texans. We will knock your barbecue because it's the most competitive sport in the state, period. So I'm ending tonight's show on that note. I did Thursday last week. Tonight's Thursday again, obviously. If Thursday works great for everybody, I'll continue to do that. If y'all want it on a different night, just let me know. All right? Well, thank y'all for watching. Again, I'm out for a week. Texas Sports Review. Thanks, guys.